I've come to the harsh realization that I have officially played Ark Survival Evolved for 6,666 hours, fine it says 6,667 hours, what are you gonna do, sue me? The real question is, how does one celebrate such an amazing feat of wasted time? The proverb goes, remember not to bite off more than you can chew. To that proverb I say, I would rather choke on greatness than nibble on mediocrity. Therefore I choose to hang out with all the Tide Pod eating kids, ergo, beginner servers, my favorite people, a place full of creative savages. I started, as is tradition, by running a marathon around the southern part of the map, getting all the steroid infusion boxes lying scattered across the beautiful island map. This is what the perfect body shape looks like, gentlemen, be jealous. Next I needed hide. Having access to the locals' unguarded dinosaurs, I opted to euthanize them. Listen, okay. Finding hide on a Bob the Builder covered map is hard, you kill what you gotta kill. Once I harvested my neighbor's pets, I made myself a wonderful raft, designed to resemble the divine IKEA furniture Ballman. As you can see, I was in desperate need of fertilizer for my Ballman rooftop plants, and I was most definitely not about to start getting it myself the normal way. Luckily for me, there was a raft ahead of me, and the lovable Tide Pod Chomper was blissfully ignorant to my presence. So much like the illegal immigration at the US border, I pulled up next to the gentleman, identified his citizenship to have been revoked, and acted according to the American law. I might regret typing that text one day. You know what? No, I will not. Why, you ask? Well, here is my theory. The clitoris has around 8,000 nerve endings, and it's still not as sensitive as an undecided voter's opinion on the internet, thus I stand no chance pleasing everyone. Might get murdered one day in real life. Then again, I want you all to know that if that does come to happen, I want 2 white women with a podcast to solve it in their free time, no one else. If it is not 2 women on a podcast, let my killer walk free. Well, what's happening here is quite clear. I'm mugging the poor guy for fertilizer, since, as is tradition, I would hope for my ex-plants to grow into strong opinionated plants that can aid me in dry bice. Although as always I have no patience to wait for them to grow, so instead I take my smooth-looking bomb and ride out for another adventure. And you know how when watching those Rust PvP videos, it's always about how they run into one specific guy that just makes their entire video. Well, coming up next is my Rust enemy. I for one wanted to start this in a friendly and playful way. I mean, I intended on kidnapping him, but he decided violence first, and it surprised me.
Hey, friend!
You can tell the man has experience in holding down the S key on his keyboard.
Oh, easy!
The memories of his father's belt have latched onto the frontal lobe. He knows one thing and one thing only: daddy's belt and shoestring techniques.
It's rude. I wasn't gonna attack you.
This is called a little white lie. I mean, I was going to attack him, sure, but then again, some people pray for safety, yet the Pope still rides in a bulletproof golf cart when visiting his people. So sometimes we just lie to make people feel good, right? And besides, with the aim we were showing, the only danger in the area was crop dusting each other to death. Our friend attempted to duck the arrows for a while, but eventually he would succumb to the soothing sound of my voice.
Go to sleep.
Okay, maybe more like 50 meters away from a school type of voice.
Go to sleep, Billy. That's my boy. Shh, only dreams now. Only dreams.
Billy, as we gently named him, turned out to be Spanish. Billy was not much of a talker, however he was quite young, and sadly, like many younglings on the internet, the first words that came out of his mouth were quite similar to the words that come out of your racist grandmother's mouth during Christmas. Was he a Spanish Trump supporter by chance? I would wager yes. Thing with these kind of people is that they only really react to consequences, because shitty people are always hoping you'll be the bigger person, so there's no consequences. Billy sadly was dealing with a man who should be 50 meters away from a school.
I'm gonna go and kill that bird of yours because you were so rude. No porfa. Just death.
There's something satisfying with toasting flying suicide pigeons in Ark Survival Evolved, so damn satisfying.
I'm doing it incredibly slowly, just for you.
Level 9, this was during a 3x event. Imagine not having the energy to get anything higher. He's obviously not new, he knew what Ebola was used for in PvP.
Well, he's in a better place now.
Yeah, probably being manhandled by the worms, finishing off the leftovers of the corpse.
And you're coming with me.
Do you know, some other place, preferably 51 meters away in any direction. Your choice, Billy. Remember, the safety word is going to be pink rubber ducky. But you have to say it backwards or I won't listen, and then who's really to blame?
You're quite lucky. I forgot to get the cementing paste. I'm gonna get cementing paste, but if I find you again, I'll probably just keep you. Just so you know. You beautiful, beautiful, rugged man. Have a wonderful day. I'm taking your stuff.
It's kind of like taking someone's sneakers in prison.
What is this? How many are you?
No one ever expects the Spanish Inquisition, I mean let's be real, who thought he might have friends? No one, right?
There's so many. Go. Eat them, buddy. Yeah, eat that one. Eat them slowly.
They didn't really come swinging in full gear, however I soon came to realize that they were not helpless in reality. Because most likely just like me you might have thought these guys lived in a thatch house. That's incorrect, they had dinosaurs that they started chasing me with. Plant X species growing on a stone house, and in general just living the lavish lifestyle that was affordable to players on the Ark Survival Evolved beginner servers. Their life was wonderful. Well, until I decided it was time to make this into a very personal situation. This could all have been avoided if Billy just would have whispered the safety word. But no, instead here I am hyped up on amphetamines and honey tea. Now when you proceed to break into someone's house you always have to make sure to stalk around the outside for a while. If you don't you might end up in a home alone situation, remember. Kevin McAllister could have phoned the police at any time. He was a child who had accidentally been left alone. One call and he would have been safe, but it was never about safety. He was hunting those men that broke into his house. He wanted them to die. It was fun for him, he enjoyed it, and I refuse to have a home alone scenario happen to me right here. Therefore, unlike that movie, I shall be dealing with pure violence. Sadly, yours truly had no idea that grenades blew up wood spikes with one toss, even with 6,666 hours of gameplay. At least I'm still learning. Anyway, I wasted some grenades, and that's life. I moved toward the door, which seemed fine until Mr. Chris Kyle the camouflage genius decided to appear from the dirt and whistle his Tesla-looking parasaurs at me. Which I assume had been fed nothing aside from root beer and horse tranquilizers, because those massive things were pissed and fearless. In the lack of grenades I was forced to head back to the raft and get some new supplies. I decided to cut the next part out, but in general I was followed by most of these Tesla parasaurs and ended up euthanizing them in the water. However, one did remain and I did end up dealing with him. But before that I wanted to make sure to let the Spaniards know that I was here for their Iberico ham and there was nothing they could do about it, so I blasted a glory hole into their house. The Tesla parasaur was pissed, and rightfully so. Sadly there was no option to leave him alive since he would be a witness to the upcoming murders. Once that was dealt with I observed the dust settle from the glory hole. I did what I normally do, which is hold down the W key and hope for the best. As predicted, one of the Bobs had successfully found a utilization for his sleeping friends, as human bulletproof vests. What an excellent friend. Internally I could hear him whisper. First I nail this roof, then I nail degenerates like you on a cross. Bob the Builder would have been proud of him. A crossbow battle kicked off, and no matter how many times the arrow hit him it refused to register. Meanwhile this interaction goes down, let's talk about something completely random, since you guys should by now have understood I sidetrack from time to time. For example, we could talk about planning your midlife crisis. Do not be boring with your midlife crisis and buy a sports car. Instead go hard, learn magic, lease a falcon, start a cult. Are people worried about you? Sure, but are they also a little curious? Yeah man, sign them up for the cult. You gotta make those falcon payments. Are you guys seeing these arrows? Not one single one is registering, but the guy is showing more blood splatter than a virgin sacrifice in a Sweeney Todd movie. If I was a hunter tracking my kill I would have assumed the creature was dead ages ago, since this much blood loss should be illegal without any consequences. Eventually I decided I needed more supplies again. I came back with grenades, since I knew as soon as I got away they would patch the hole, and they did, so we reopened it, but instead of looking for loot this time I decided I no longer wanted it. I just didn't want them to have it either, so I started tossing grenades into the building. Out came two angry little illiterate twat trucks with fury shooting from their eyes. I tried explaining to them that every dead body on Mount Everest was once a very determined individual, so maybe we all calm down. They did not care for it. We brawled for a while, but eventually we left our separate ways. This was sadly as far as I got in this plot of vengeance. I spent about 3 hours harassing these lovable little racists, and honestly it was time well spent. If you watch up to the last bit you can see me knocking on their door repeatedly, but aside from that I'm going to be honest, this is over. The goal was to mess with Billy on the beach and I feel like I got a fun time out of it. Next time I will remember to get the cementing paste for my prison raft. If you watched to this part feel free to type Billy in the comment section. You guys are going to be looking for some last words of wisdom before I leave, I guess. How about this one? Babies sure stare a lot for someone who doesn't know how to fight. I hope you lunatics step on a Lego. See you in the next one. And this, kids, is why I need to be 50 meters from a school zone.